Good morning and welcome to our monthly Facebook Live broadcast. This month is Pride Month and we are discussing all of the important things that we need to think about this month. Before we jump in, I definitely want to thank all of our sponsors. They're listed there on the picture, and for our title sponsor, Shoe Station, for all the wonderful work that they do. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. To start off, can we go around and introduce everybody and who you're with and a little bit about what your organization does? Corey, we'll start with you.
Sure. My name is Corey Harvard. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the executive director of Prism United, and Prism serves LGBTQ youth in Mobile. We primarily serve those youth by providing gatherings and support groups. We do special events. We provide referral to affirming and competent mental health and medical health care, and we do safe zone training in the community. I'm so happy to be a part of this today.
Welcome. Shey?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Shey Thorn. I also use he, him pronouns. I'm the co-executive director and director of prevention, education, and outreach at AIDS Alabama South and Shell Health Clinic in Mobile. AIDS Alabama South is the only AIDS service organization between Pensacola, Florida, and New Orleans, Louisiana. And we serve 12,545 square miles of Southwest Alabama. We provide life-sustaining services to individuals who are living with or affected by HIV and AIDS. And those include social services such as our food bank or transportation services to medical appointments, emergency financial assistance. And then on the other side is Shell Health Clinic, and it is our newly full-time open PrEP clinic in which we serve completely comprehensive sexual health care at no cost. We provide PrEP, STI testing and treatment, HIV testing and treatment, and we are soon to be on providing hepatitis C testing and treatment as well.
Wonderful. Trista?
Yeah, so I'm Trista Stout-Walker. I'm the Vice President of Community Impact at United Way of Southwest Alabama, and I'm coming from you guys live from our Clark County Outreach Center. So for those of you that are not aware, we have a satellite office in Grove Hill, Alabama, and we utilize this space to provide our partners and other community stakeholders a safe, confidential meeting area so that they can serve the clients in the community.
Justine, you're muted.
I'm Justine Bixler, and I'm muted. I use he, her pronouns. I am with the United Way of Southwest Alabama. I'm our VP of Resource Development, and honored to be considered, an ally in the LGBTQ community.
And I'm Leslie Schraeder, and I'm Marketing Specialist and Labor Engagement Liaison. I am she, her as well, and very pleased to be part of having these conversations that are finally being held pretty widespread these days. So, before, the way I thought we'd start is Jill wrote her president's blog at the beginning of the month, really sharing some numbers that show that the LGBTQ plus community has serious health disparities in mental, sexual health, partner and community violence, substance abuse. I'd like to hear what you guys think about that as on the local level. How is that affecting the community here, or is it? I think that's a good place to start.
I agree. I'll definitely touch on the impact of sexual health and its many indications, especially for our LGBTQ youth. So within Mobile County, we've seen a disproportionately increased rate in youth who are testing positive for STIs. This is typical, but this rate tends to increase or has been seen to increase over the past few months. So in regards to that and to address that, we provide opportunities for comprehensive sexual health education, which I know for Alabama is going to be something real for all of our schools soon. but it's something that really isn't achievable right now. And so we're kind of filling that gap until it is, and we'll continue to do that after that. Additionally, in regards to HIV, youth are at a higher risk due to the lack of proper sexual health education to contract HIV, just as any other STI. And they also do show a high prevalence rate within the data that we receive from ADPH. It's pretty significant enough to be on there. So these are all factors that absolutely need to be addressed and talked about. And I'm so happy that you guys have provided this space for us to do that.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Shey is saying there, you know, we have pretty good reason to think that the local data is actually pretty worse than the national data. And the national data is harrowing. So we see that LGBTQ youth report 4 times the likelihood of suicidality as their straight and cisgender peers. They are thought to account for maybe up to 40% of all unaccompanied homeless minors. And so to put that in perspective, I think Gen Z, according to the last Gallup poll, is reporting maybe 15% of the entire Gen Z population around that is identifying as LGBTQ, which is a much higher number than previous generations. But they're accounting for 40% of all unaccompanied homeless minors. That's gross overrepresentation. And then the kind of things that people don't think about is that things like school performance are affected by whether or not LGBTQ youth find acceptance, right? And so LGBTQ youth who see higher levels of victimization see like 7 to 8% worse performance on their school GPAs. And this kind of translates out to like 0.3 points lower on GPAs. And that's the difference between getting a scholarship or passing high school or a lot of things that pan out into bigger things, right? Into greater socioeconomic impact. And so, Leslie, I'm glad that you started off by acknowledging that there are like serious concerns in the data. And to the question, do we see that around here? I can say from personal experience that when we first started Prism, over 50% of our regular attendees had been hospitalized already for their mental health. And these are high schoolers. Like imagine that.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Is Mobile and the surrounding areas safe? Like I worry about a lot of communities and their safety just being. How do we stand up in that department?
I think the idealistic view is that we all have the capability to make Mobile what we think and want it to be. And I think there's been a lack of that for a very, very long time. And thanks to organizations like Prism United, really providing transparency for LGBTQ people in general, we are finally going to get to a place very soon, I feel like, where we will feel completely safe. Because I think there may be some juxtaposition between how we feel in being safe, but then also what's the reality of what's going on around us. And a lot of that gets hidden. So it's harder to kind of understand that gray area. I think that if we continue at the rate that we're going, and if we don't protect our LGBTQ youth and our LGBTQ HIV positive, sexually healthy, open individuals, then we could head towards a path where more of our community members may feel unsafe.
I think that, I mean, with over 52, this is back to Jill's blog, she mentioned that 52% of the LGBTQ population has experienced depression lately. And it's almost impossible to feel, I guess I shouldn't speak to that. It's impossible to feel safe if you feel depressed. I guess those are different feelings, but I mean, it definitely will be a contributing factor to your feeling of safety. And I think to get out of that kind of depression, if an eighth of that population has also experienced unequal treatment in the healthcare field, or their depression isn't taken seriously, or it's attributed to their sexuality, you know, and it's or their fault, you know, God forbid that it's taken that far, you know. How can we better push past that boundary and make sure that services are available or that people feel safe seeking those services?
Yeah. So when I think of the question, you know, is Mobile a safe place for LGBTQ people? I think one thing that's hard about that is safe can mean so many different things, right? And so just what Justine was getting at, you know, safety isn't just about your material well-being or your physical well-being. It's also about your mental well-being. And what drives a lot of youth towards things like suicide is their mental health, right? And their mental health is failing because of their cultural climate. It's because they're going to school and they're getting bullied, or probably the strongest predictor of that is they're in a home environment that isn't safe, that isn't affirming. And so to me, like, the kind of things I think about is, what are we doing to change the cultural climate, right? And that's why Prism exists, is because we think that we can do that by providing safe spaces and letting people find community. But a big part of this too, and thank God for organizations like AIDS Alabama South for this, finding affirming and competent care is a huge priority to getting kids out of the zone where we're worried about whether or not they're considering suicide, right? It's because there comes a point, especially for high school age kids, where they can pursue those resources themselves. And what happens is they go out into a mobile that doesn't necessarily provide care that's affirming or competent. They'll go to a therapist who doesn't know anything about LGBTQ issues, and maybe even is antagonistic towards LGBTQ issues, or they go to a doctor, especially this is true for trans populations, and they can't trust that the doctors in this area are going to understand what trans individuals need. And so high priority, I think, is for us as organizations and programs to network and find those providers who are affirming and competent, so that when people come to us in the LGBTQ community, we can point them towards the resources that they need.
What does it mean to you guys to be an ally? I think a lot of us really aspire, but want to, and it, you know, a lot of people are still learning. So what does that mean to y'all?
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you for proposing that. So I think for me, an allyship truly means someone that will be there for you. And that sounds so simple, but I think the older that we get, the more we realize how sincere and needed that is. But an ally is someone that will also attempt to protect you when you can't protect yourself. And that's coming from a perspective of someone who is a gay man and lived in the Deep South growing up, and was a part of the 22% of LGBTQ youth who have been physically abused or bullied. So having that network, having the allies such as you all on this call, is an allyship. That circle of people that you can go to and have these conversations with, talk about the reality of where these numbers are and how this impacts our LGBTQ youth and the youth in Mobile in general, because it's more than just the LGBTQ youth too. There's so many other factors that need to be addressed within that. That will create the opportunity for more allyship, more understanding, fairness, and love to happen around our community.
Okay, so as we this came up in a conversation I had earlier in the week with another group, that the Pride Month is although it started commemorating something awful, it's really become a celebration and really fun. But there's the concern that on Thursday, like, check, Pride Month's over, move on. How can we carry on that advocacy and support throughout the year and not just have it be when it's super fun?
I think that to allyship and to making real change and not seasonal change or like window dressing change, like substantive change, means recognizing that creating safe spaces is an active process, that a safe space is a live environment. It's something that we co-create in whatever atmosphere that we're in. And what that means is there's no such thing as a silent ally. Like, we can't just turn this on for Pride Month and care about LGBTQ people and then think that when we're sitting around with our coworkers, if we're a bunch of like cisgender straight folk and somebody makes a joke that isn't appropriate or that perpetuates stigma, that we can't be silent. Like, there's just no such thing as a silent ally. And I think that this is really important to press, because people might think, well, I don't have anything against LGBTQ people. But if you're not doing anything in the face of clear derogatory comments or attitudes towards queer people, then you're allowing that to be perpetuated. And so that's one thing, is that we don't turn off when Pride Month is beyond us. We continue to be allies. And like one other point I'd like to tag onto this that gets missed sometimes in the conversation about allies is that some of the most important work happens between straight cisgender people, right? Like, a lot of times this conversation becomes about how do we treat the LGBTQ people around us. That transformation needs to happen when LGBTQ people aren't around as well. And so having those discussions with people that you work with, that you're in communion with, getting that dialogue generated is wildly important. And that's where stigma comes down and fear of what an LGBTQ person is starts to dissipate. Because, you know, it's people talking to other people that they relate to. I think that's just so powerful and so important.
I would like to piggyback off of Corey. I completely agree. That was beautifully said. I think an additional aspect to allyship may also come from community involvement and pushing for it. And so in order to do that, we have organizations that are here in our community doing this work right now, working for the creation of that change that needs to be had. So support them. And support doesn't always mean financially. You can participate in the events and helping your community, volunteering. There's so many ways that we can work towards doing this. So I think for those that are interested in creating a culture of allyship within our community, reach out to us. I'm sure Corey will say, just like I will, my information is probably everywhere. Use it. Please use it. I would love to have these conversations outside of this.
And Shey, I was going to add, like, Rainbow Mobile, I know they have the What Pride Means to Me campaign, and anybody can participate in that. And Leslie, I put their chat in our chat so we can add it to the group one. But and it says their website's under construction. But a couple weeks ago, I was looking, and it shows, speaking of allies, business resources, healthcare providers, and partners that are considered allies and can be supportive. So it's a great resource for people to go to. And then I can't say enough, Corey and Shey's point about making our voice a regular part of language, that it's always included. It's not just a month or a day, that it's a regular part of conversation. So maybe amongst my straight peers, it's considered the norm and not an anomaly. Just, that is how it should be. It is, and hopefully it can start building acceptance from there.
Yeah. How often is it that it's just like, I think about this a lot, is people who are most homophobic, like I think oftentimes are just, they just don't know, like they don't know, maybe they don't think they know LGBTQ people, but I think it's the fear that drives, it's the ignorance that drives the fear, and it's the fear that drives the stigma. And so the importance of having conversations and making those conversations possible amongst straight people, I think that's just where a lot of the change actually happens. So I charge all the straight people listening to this conversation, talk to your straight peers and coworkers and friends and family about the LGBTQ community. Like, let that fear come to the surface so it can be addressed.
I think that's really real. I mean, I've definitely talked to people I know and friends, and they don't know anyone, so they don't have a relation or any. It's like some scary thing, and they don't have anyone to compare it to. And then I've seen people, the second they know somebody that they love that is part of that community, it's like a switch. They just totally change. They're like, oh, it's not some unknown or something weird. Weird's the wrong word, but something like so far away, because it became so proximate to them. They were able to identify and then help support. Probably takes them a long time, longer, but able to start their support.
Yeah.
Trista, do you have any thoughts?
Well, it's funny because I'm sitting here jotting down notes of things that I want to touch on, but then everyone's beat me to it. So really, just moving forward to keep the momentum going. What connections or partnerships can we identify? Because at UWSWA Southwest Alabama, we value the community, our stakeholders, our partners, because collectively we're the safety net. And then I love that Justine shared the resource to identify the healthcare providers in the area. So it's really just keeping it in the forefront of our minds. Have it on our radar, and that way when we have our aha moments, we can be like, oh, I can connect this organization with this person that I've met, and vice versa.
Yeah. Something else that I encourage, I don't know if United Way has done this. I wouldn't surprise me if y'all have. But I've been really pleased about the number of nonprofits and businesses and clinics and even academic spaces that have reached out to the LGBTQ orgs for some LGBTQ competency training. Because there's so much going on in the LGBTQ community, especially in these younger generations. And it's one thing to say, I have this general positive attitude towards LGBTQ people. It's another thing to kind of understand what's happening, to understand different terms of gender and sexuality. And that's how we show more substantive support for people, is by trying to understand them, right? Not just saying that we care about them. And so I encourage anybody, again, who's listening, who's part of a company or an org or nonprofit, whatever space where you can invite an organization like Prism or Rainbow Mobile to come in and provide some of that training. It's a lot of fun, actually. And it's a way to kind of accelerate that allyship.
One thing I did want to talk about, and it's sort of in on a positive, what is the community doing well? Like, are we succeeding in some areas? And are there ways that we can build on if there's small successes? How do we build on those?
I think in a sexual health sense, because that's the world that I work and live in, especially with the clinic, we are seeing some movement in regards to parents taking initiative and guiding their children to receive services that they need and that they deserve, and that it's not there is a proper age to start. And by doing that, we can then lead through those conversations that need to be had, especially maybe the tougher sexual health conversations that the parents aren't necessarily comfortable having. And having those conversations that even leads us more in the direction that we need to go into.
Did y'all have a chance to attend Art Walk, the Pride Art Walk?
Jill did. I missed it, but the pictures are fantastic.
Yeah. So the city, like, there are ways that this city is starting to kind of sanction these LGBTQ themed events. There's been content that we've been invited to participate in, generally about things like trauma and bullying, that once upon a time, the LGBTQ population might have been a footnote in a presentation. And now we're being more actively drawn into the experience to have like a component of these videos and presentations. And so it does feel like people are understanding that the LGBTQ community and the needs of the community have to be addressed. And it's nice to see that we're being invited to be featured in things like Art Walk. Like, how amazing is that?
I just added to the chat the Visit Mobile's page. Mobile embraces all love, and it has different activities and some more different businesses that are supportive and continue with the initiatives that you mentioned, Corey.
I think this has been a really good beginning first off amongst us. Are there any thoughts anybody wants to share before we close out for today?
Of course, I have to take the time to say that if you or anyone is in need of comprehensive and equitable sexual health that provides a safe space for you, please come visit our clinic. We're open full-time Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 to 4, and Tuesday from 12 to 8. So we can accommodate any schedule. And if that time doesn't work for you, I would love to speak with you personally and make a time that best fits your schedule to provide you with the sexual health services that you deserve and need. And likewise, in with HIV, we also have a thorough service for them. So please direct them in.
And I really apologize for the echo. It's not as bad on the rural. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you are an LGBTQ youth and you need support or would like community, just know that we're here for you. We have a Prism Preteens program for youth ages 10 to 13. That does require parental consent to participate in that program. And then we have a Prism Teens program for youth 14 to 18. We have a weekly support group in Mobile that will kick back off at the beginning of this school year. We do special events, open mic nights, costume karaoke party, holiday dinners, like PJ movie parties. We are going to do the biggest LGBTQ prom that this southern part of Alabama has ever seen towards the end of this year in November. So just know that there's community here for you that's celebrating you, a space to have fun and connect and make friendships and to find support. And if you are the parent of an LGBTQ youth, we have programming for you too. We have an active support group. We have referral services to competent, affirming therapists. We just want you to know that we're here and that we care about you, and come use our services.
Ladies, anything you guys add?
I would just add, as a straight person, that I would encourage my fellow straight people to step up to the plate and support your community members, regardless of your differences or likenesses or what may be perceived different that aren't actually. Reach out to somebody that you may know and meet somebody new. It's a good place to start, and then just always support all community members, because it definitely takes a village. And there's obviously complicated many dynamics that go into supporting your community across healthcare, education, some of the things we focused on today. But step up to the plate.
Yeah, and I did forget to tag this, that Prism United's website is prismunited.org. So that's how you can find out about us, or you can email us at info@prismunited.org. And Shey, I think you mentioned this, but I'll go ahead and circle back around and say AIDS Alabama South's website was aidsalabama.south.org. And I know they have an active Facebook page as well.
And we did get those websites in the chat. They're right below us here. Trista?
And then always check out the programs that are offered at United Way of Southwest Alabama. Two that I feel like are vital to this conversation is our single care prescription drug savings program. And then also, when you're looking for resources, Corey and Shey represent two fabulous resources in Mobile, but 211 has the services that are available. And thank you, Leslie, for putting the number on the screen. Mary Howard and her team have a database at their fingertips and can help you connect to service providers in our area.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for joining us. Again, the first of many conversations going forward. United Way is committed to the DEI programming on all fronts with all people in all of the segments that have been marginalized, and bringing them into the family. So next month we will be back on the 4th Friday of the month, and the theme is National Culinary Month. So we're going to be tying that into nutrition and health, and we look forward to having you all back then. Everybody have a great rest of your day and wonderful weekend, and we appreciate you joining us. And thanks to our sponsors, especially Shoe Station. Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.